Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm glad to have everyone here as we celebrate this Mass and kick off a great homecoming week, although it's sort of nasty and dreary outside. I've been blessed to be here at UL and Our Lady of Wisdom for just over 5 years. This is my 6th homecoming Mass. And I do a fair amount of talking in the diocese and around the nation about ministering to college students and the state of faith of young people today. And I get a lot of questions, a lot of times from parents and adults who hear things in the news, in the media. They see things on television and are concerned about the state of the faith and the lives of young people today. They hear about how many young people, once they get out of college, they end up leaving their faith. They get caught up in drugs and sex. They feel lost and disconnected more and more from religion and quit practicing the faith or even believing in God. And so they ask me, is this true, Father? Can you give me some sign of hope that things are not totally lost with this generation? And I've got to be very honest when I talk to people, and I say, yeah, things are pretty bad. A lot of what you hear from the statistics are true. And I see a lot of it on campus and in my workings with young people. But there's one thing that's left out. No matter how lost young people may seem, no matter how much they're in darkness or looking for answers, there's something that I see and I'm convinced of that is true about college students today. No matter how dark it is, no matter how lost they may seem, many of them are still searching for answers. They haven't given up the search. They're still looking and searching particularly for God. Many of them looking to encounter Jesus Christ. So there are a lot of questions. There's a lot of seeking. And that keeps us very busy here, trying to provide answers and lead students, who many of them are dark or hurt or lost, to Jesus Christ. And so as I was preparing for today's homily, I sort of realized that the gospel today epitomizes to a great degree what a lot of the work that happens here at Our Lady of Wisdom is when it comes to ministering to students. And so we see in the gospel the central figure, the son of Timaeus, the blind Bartimeus. Bar means son of in Hebrew. And here is this young man who is begging on the streets, who's blind. We don't know a lot about his background except that he's the son of Timaeus. And he calls out to Jesus knowing that he's coming. He's in darkness. He's probably despairing and poor and lost and questioning. But he calls out to Jesus that the Lord might have mercy on him. In his darkness, he's seeking Jesus. And so people tell him to shut up, but it's Jesus who says, tell him to come to me. Tell him to come to me. And so he gets up and he goes to the Lord, and we hear that exchange where Jesus says, your faith has saved you. And the blind son of Timaeus then can see again and is able to follow Jesus in great joy after Christ works that miracle. And so that's the same thing that I see. Like blind Bartimeus, so many young people lost, but still like him searching, wanting to know Jesus, wanting to encounter mercy, and getting involved in campus ministry, coming to Wisdom. Many young people who are hurt and lost come to find mercy, come to encounter Jesus, and have their lives turned around. So literally, over the course of my 5.5 years here, I could tell you so many stories about lives that I've seen that are changed. Those who are blind who gained sight. And rather than give you all of those stories, I'm going to share 3. I'm not going to give names, but I think 3 stories that sort of encapsulate the blind Bartimaeus coming to encounter the mercy of Jesus and having his life changed. The first is a young man that I started seeing hanging around here several years ago. Very clean cut, very respectable. Hadn't really seen him before. And Megan and I talking to him and talking to other students, come to find out he was from the area but came from sort of a very dysfunctional family and had not a great relationship with his father. Not really been involved in ministry here, but had some of the Focus missionaries. Focus missionaries are these recent college grads that we have here at UL, at Wisdom, who go out and evangelize on campus. And they had met him and invited him to come get involved in a Bible study. No one had invited him before, so he did. He began getting involved in the Bible study and began revealing to these Focus missionaries that he had come to college kind of looking for answers. But like a lot of college students, had gone in the wrong direction, partying a little too much, drinking a little too much, and had gotten away from his faith. But his encounter with the Focus missionaries and then with the students who hang around here, he began to move away from the party lifestyle and began to realize how important that virtuous life was, but more importantly, how important it was to evangelize others. And so he began to get involved here, pray, get involved in different leadership activities, retreats, but also began to evangelize his peers. And the Lord really changed his life. And one day during prayer, after Mass, he said he felt the Lord speak to him and say, "I want you to be a priest." So after a lot of prayer and a lot of discernment, that young man now gave up a career and becoming a doctor and is now studying for the priesthood because the Lord's light shone in that darkness of his life. Another story of a young woman who was very involved here. Very sort of bright, bubbly personality. Everyone liked her. And through my discussions with this young woman, came to realize that she had come from a very, very broken family. Gone through a lot of suffering in her life and was going through a lot of emotional turmoil. And as a result was sort of acting out in very unhealthy ways. Looking for love and looking for attention. When she came here to UL, she was invited to get involved in the campus ministry here because she had a few friends. But her journey led her really to deepen her prayer life. Coming to daily Mass, receiving the Eucharist, spending time before and after Mass and adoration. And through that, she came to have a real encounter with Jesus, who took away a lot of her darkness, a lot of her despair. And through some counseling that we provide and through spiritual direction, came to find a great sense of the Lord's love for her. Great sense of the Lord's love for her. And now, after she's left, is dedicating her life full time to service of Christ in the church and bringing the gospel to other people. A great love for Jesus and a great love for the church. And the third and final story is probably the one that is most connected to this gospel. A young man who began to see hanging around here a few years ago. And after several months of him being here, this young man realized he loved art and music and film, very well educated. There was a terrible tragedy, and he ended up losing his eyesight. Like Bartimeus, became completely blind. As you can imagine, here's this young man in his early 20s with his whole life ahead of him. All of a sudden, he has this terrible disability and begins to question God. Why did you allow this to happen? A lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of desperation. But he began to hang out here more and more because his family wasn't around. And talking to other people, visiting with the students, getting involved with the community here, came to find a family, a home away from home, and to find great hope through his trials. Started coming to Mass, receiving the Eucharist, and is now an integral part and considers wisdom. And the students here, his family. And has found that light in the midst of tremendous darkness and the support he needs to be able to carry his cross. A profound witness to everyone who meets him. These are three simple stories. And again, I could give so much more of how, as bad as it may seem, the Lord is still working to change lives and to bring light and hope into the lives of so many young people. And I'm blessed to be a part of that. But there's one thing, though, sort of from the gospel that I want to highlight. And it sort of extends this message and really makes it applicable to all of us. If you notice from the gospel, the blind Bartimeus, the blind son of Timaeus, doesn't say, "Oh, look, I hear Jesus' voice," and run up to him and say, "Jesus, I need you to heal me." Nor does Jesus spot Bartimeus out in the crowd and walk up to him and, rub his eyes and bring about healing. That's not how it works. There's not that immediate direct contact. Bartimeus only comes to encounter Jesus because of the Lord's disciples. Notice, Jesus is traveling with a very, very large crowd. And Bartimeus, the son of Bartimeus, begins crying out to him, Jesus. And first he's silenced, but Jesus tells the disciples, call him over to me. And so it's the disciples who go to say, let me bring you to Jesus. Let me show you the way. The Lord changes his life, indeed, but uses an intermediary. Uses that mediator, the disciples who reach out to Bartimeus and bring him to Jesus so that he can find the transformation. And that's something that I see as so crucial. Indeed, maybe the Lord here on campus appears to students and changes their lives. But more often than not, he uses his disciples. He uses the students who are already committed to following him to reach out to the students, whether it be on campus, whether it be in the dorms, or whether it be right here during or after Mass at Our Lady of Wisdom. And that's the beautiful thing to see. That discipleship, that living out the gospel that can help transform the lives of students who are lost. So when I convey these types of stories to people and talk to them, I say, Father, we wish we would have had that when we were in college. We wish we could have been part of such a vibrant ministry. And they'll often ask, what can we do to be a part of the transformation of the lives of so many young people, whether it be here at UL or anywhere else? And I say that, or I think that, we could say, the gospel applies. Indeed, there are going to be individuals who are there on the front lines, who are involved in campus ministry, who are students here reaching out to other students. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people, the people who are parishioners here, alumni, people in town, simply can't come to campus during the day and to reach out to students. It would look a little strange, and you probably couldn't find a parking place. And so, but there is ways to help. One of the most important ways, of course, is continue praying and sacrificing for the success of the ministry. Listening to the voices who are calling out and asking them, hey, go get involved. Jesus is there. There's hope there. But one of the ways we also really depend on people, and this is the theme of the course of the past several years during homecoming week, is that we depend upon the generosity of other people to make this possible. Over the course of the past 4 or 5 years, our ministry has grown to be one of the top 5 in the nation. Our budget has almost doubled to now we have a $1.3 to $1.4 million budget. And the reality is, students cannot make that happen. They can't pay for all the retreats. They can't pay for all the 501s and the mission trips. We depend upon disciples of Christ to help us make this possible. And so this is the week where we really push encouragement that if these stories matter, the lives of the students matter, if the future of the church matters, we need people to get involved, to become partners just as the disciples were partners of Christ. And so we try to make it a little fun and incentivized. We do this all during the year, constantly encouraging people to get involved. But this week, during our homecoming week, when so many people are coming back and fired up about what's going on at UL, going on here on campus, we issue a challenge. And so we're going to call this the Ministry Partner Challenge Week. We are challenging people, whether it be parishioners, friends, family members, alumni, to become partners with us, just as the disciples were partners with Jesus, to help bring light and mercy to students on campus who are lost, to make changes, impacts in the lives of students. And so what we're going to do is we are looking during the course of this week to find 60 new people, or people who are already giving, to give or to increase their gift to help make this possible. It doesn't have to be a very, very big gift. It can be anything. But if we can achieve 60 new ministry partners, or people who are going above and beyond what they already give, not only will it have a tremendous impact, think of it, if we have 60 people commit to $50 a month, that is over $35,000 a year. Not a big sacrifice. If you make $50,000 a year, that's 1% of your income. They can provide for 2 retreats during the course of the year. They can provide to feed enough pizza over the course of the year. They can help to be able to pay salaries of people who go on campus to minister to students. It makes a big impact. The other bonus is if during the course of this week, leading up to next week, if we can get 60 new ministry partners, the following weekend, Father Broussard and I will preach 60-second homilies. That's a real miracle. That's a real miracle, particularly for me. It's a gift, trying to incentivize people because it is important. But what we have, though, including that, we've had a number of people be very generous and commit $25,000. Pledge it, a number of donors, that if we can raise up to $25,000, they're going to match it. So their money will be doubled. So in the collections this week, in all the gifts given online through electronic giving through this ministry partner system, and the collections next week are one-time gifts, whatever's given up to $25,000 will be matched, which means we can take $25,000 and turn it to $50,000. But we want to go above and beyond that, keeping with the theme, to give $60,000. $60,000 in 1 week to help this ministry. 60 new ministry partners giving online can have a tremendous impact in bringing the light and mercy of Christ to others. So I encourage you, in your pews, you're going to see little cards in your bulletin. Pick it up. Learn more about it, how you can give, to get online and to get involved. It's not just about money. It's not just about signing up and saying, hey, I support the Raging Cajun Catholics. It's about a message of hope. A message of hope to so many students who are lost, who are searching, to be able to lead them, to partner with the Lord, to work with us as disciples, to bring them the light and mercy of Jesus. Amen.